Welcome back to the Early Weigh-In Podcast. This Saturday, going down during the daytime, UFC Abu Dhabi. Middleweight headliner Robert Whittaker taking on Rainier de Ritter, and Peter Yan headlining our co-main event slot, taking on the surging Marcus McGee. 12 fights on deck to go through. Excited to break them down with you. As always, man, we're going to recap how we finished up last week. Nice to get back on the winning side of things after a 3-week skid for myself. I split my straight picks, both at plus money, though. Lost on Dustin Poirier, the retirement fight. But, man, hit Paulo Costa, clean 30-27, 2 knockdowns. Looked really good, man. One of the biggest plays of the night, Zell Huber, inside the distance. I don't know, man. To not even get the finish, but to lose to Michael Johnson, get dropped. Zell Huber's not made many adjustments throughout his career. The points handicap for Kyler Phillips, pretty much knew he was going to go out there and win round 1 like he always does. A little bit more sketchy in round 2, but still happy to hit that. Fight doesn't go the distance in the first fight of the night. Nice to sit a little cushion. But Dulatov round 1-2 hits in my parlay with ease, and Kevin Holland goes in and busts everybody's parlays for the weekend, man, not getting it done inside the distance and hurting D-Rod, being stupid. But, yeah, man, still happy to profit 1.4 units, get back on the right side of things, and toss it over to you, what I do believe is second week in a row, 5+ units, right?
Yes, sir. Just going down the straight picks first. Paulo Costa, my biggest play of the night at plus 195. That was a nice near 3-unit profit right there. I was on Pitbull, Patricio against Dan Ike at plus 185. I was happy I got to get a little bit of that. A little salty about the Francisco Prado fight. I'll be honest with you. I kind of knew going into that decision that he wasn't going to get it, but I personally thought he won, and there might be some bias built into that, but I just thought that he had a little more dog in him. Just a couple of things go differently, and he wins that fight pretty easy. I probably make that play again. Minus 130. That was my miss on the straight pick. Poirier by decision at plus 370. I was hopeful that it was 2-2 going into the fifth, and I think the judges gave him 3 different rounds. Like every judge had him winning 1 different round, so maybe a little closer than everybody else saw it, but still did not hit. We talked on both of us hitting the fight doesn't go the distance in the Kalari-Judice fight, 1 unit at plus 190. I had McVeigh wins by sub round 1 at plus 2,200. And if I'm not mistaken, he got the back, right?
Yeah, he got the back. He just
got
got dumped off.
So plus 2,200, like I'm not too upset with that. And then I kind of hedged it with just a 0.15 unit bet to win back my stab on McVeigh's sub round 1 with fight ends by sub. Because I did think if he didn't get it early, Bruno was going to be able to stay on top and do some damage and eventually find the sub, which he did. Span wins in round 1. I thought that I had played the TKO and looked back on my card, and I was like, yes, I didn't get greedy. It was just round 1, and ended up winning a unit right there. Only played it for 0.57 units. And then Valentin wins by submission, another stab on my card. I thought it was crazy that he kept on getting hurt and didn't even really attempt a takedown, Right. Very, very odd, game plan for Valentin coming in there. It looked like they had a no takedown clause or something going on right there. But ended up the night plus 5.17 units. And, looking to keep this momentum rolling into this week, where we start off in the heavyweight division. And a fight that I'm pretty excited to talk about, man. Martin Buday versus Marcus Buchecha. Buchecha making his UFC debut and coming in here as a pretty heavy favorite. I don't know where the line slipped to right now. Yeah, so we're getting Buchecha up into the 300s. Martin Buday is a plus 250. I like the Buday side here, man. Buchecha, he's awesome. One of the best grapplers to ever do it. But at 35 years old, trying to make a transition into MMA, fighting easily the highest level of competition that he's ever seen. And Martin Buday, who's had 3 times the experience. Truth be told, I think that this is a really tough UFC debut matchup. And this will tell us where Buchecha stands in the division. And I think that Martin Buday is a true heavyweight. I've seen Buchecha lose to lower caliber guys. Man, I don't know. I actually like Buday. I've cashed on him quite a few times since he started in the UFC. I know he makes a lot of his fights closer than you'd prefer, and his style isn't necessarily a fan favorite. He's definitely a cage pusher, but I think barring a first round knockout or a first round submission here from Marcus Buchecha, if Buday starts wearing on him, he can drown people strictly with his size. And I think that that's something that he has a lot of potential to do. He's a tough guy to submit, just being as thick as he is. And if he can get it to the feet just a couple of times after getting taken down, I think that we're going to see Buchecha fade and realize that, hey, this is a whole new ball game in the UFC. Give me Martin Buday at plus 250 to start off the card, man. I hope that you're feeling somewhat similar.
Yeah, so, you kind of touched on Buchecha, jiu-jitsu background, man. Super excited for the dude's debut. Absolute finisher. Before I'd ever touch a, what'd you say, minus 300, I mean, the under 1.5 is virtually a pick 'em, minus 115 or something the last time I looked. And if you're on the Buchecha side, I think that's how you have to play it because it's proven that if the dude doesn't get it done in round one, he doesn't really have the best gas tank and has no striking. Not much more to offer. On the Buday side, you got a legit heavyweight, a guy 6-1 in the UFC sitting at plus 250, a guy with a clear striking advantage, a clear cardio advantage. I'm with you, man. Plus 250, Martin Buday to kick off the morning of fights. I'm right there with you and plan to be on it myself.
Check me on this. I'm pretty sure Buday has never been taken down in the UFC. So this would be a first if Buchecha gets a takedown. And I'm just, minus 300 just seems ridiculous, man.
Dude, come round 2 or 3, Buchecha's tired. Big-ass Martin Buday gets on top of him, and he's equally likely to finish. So, yeah,
absolutely.
Plus 250 is a very easy click for myself. Was happy to hear you say that. A fight I don't really care too much about, man. At 145, Muhammad Yahya taking on Stephen Nguyen. Muhammad Yahya, just truth be told, man, is bottom of the barrel in my opinion when it comes to UFC caliber. Typically only fighting on these type of cards. I don't think he's very good. Doesn't do anything great. Stephen Nguyen, he's 0-1 in the UFC, but just truth be told, I think he's better everywhere. Younger, better cardio, better boxer, better grappler. Unless he just makes this so close that they can weasel one in the way of Yahya, I think Nguyen's deserving of a favorite. Probably won't get involved, but easy pick for me.
This is low level and certainly one that I feel like the UFC is trying to give Yahya an opportunity to win.
Right.
So, at plus 280 in some spots, it seems like, he is obviously the value side, in my opinion. The only way that you can play this, because Stephen Nguyen, although, serviceable most everywhere, he definitely, it would surprise the hell out of me if he comes out here and covers minus 340,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm on the Yahya side or pass. It will likely be a pass, but this is dog or pass for me. Easy. Moving on to the light heavyweight division, Ibo Aslan taking on Billy Elikana. Aslan is not good. Like, I'll be the first one to say it. He's not great, but he does carry quite a bit of power. And, I think that he has pretty good potential to get this done. I know that Billy Elikana, he was able to take quite a bit of damage before essentially giving up in his last fight against Guskov. So that's something to note. But man, the optics at the end of that Guskov fight were pretty rough. I get that he took the fight on short notice. But still, just giving up, that's not really the type of mentality I want to back ever, even as a dog. So Ibo Aslan, I think I might play him by TKO if I can get plus money. If it's not plus money, I'm cool with passing. But I think that this is Aslan's fight to lose. And I do think that he gets it done inside the distance here by TKO. Is probably the only way that I'm touching this.
Yeah, so I think Ibo was 14-2, 14 knockouts, 12 of those 14 in round one. Similar to the first fight, it's like, why you laying minus 265 when you have an under 1.5 at virtually a pick 'em? That's in my eyes all of 90% of Ibo Aslan's win condition. It doesn't really incorporate a lot of Billy's because I feel like if Billy were to win this fight, it's probably dogging something out and getting on top late. But as far as finding a better way to play Aslan, I do think the under 1.5 is a lot better than his money line. Dude's pretty unproven in terms of his gas tank and his bottom game, but I'm with you, man. I think he gets a TKO, and I think he gets a TKO early. When he does hurt you, unlike Guskov, like Aslan will let his hands go. He'll put you on the fence. He'll let a bunch of combinations go. So, Billy might not be out cold, but if he's covering up, Aslan's going to let him have it. So I like Aslan. I like Aslan early finish. Moving down to women's 115, do believe it's the only women's fight on the card here. We got Amanda Ribas taking on Tabitha Ricci. You know, man, this is one I struggle with because, like, on one hand, I think the line probably makes sense. Like, I think Amanda Ribas is the slightly better fighter, fought the better competition. The veteran here, probably the faster of the two. I still think maybe being the bigger, she's a little bit faster, throws more volume. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with Ribas being a favorite here, but I fail to see how it's not a super close fight, and if anybody's going to have a big moment, it's probably Tabitha Ricci landing something big, or Tabitha Ricci maybe even landing a couple takedowns. And so I kind of struggle here because, I'm okay with Ribas being a favorite, but I do see the fight being super close. And so I've been very tempted on the Tabitha Ricci side. It's 100% dog or pass, so let me side with Tabitha Ricci by decision if it's a little bit interesting. But yeah, give me another dog here, man, in the women's fight.
Yeah, this is an easy play. I honestly thought that we were going to be on opposite sides here, but yeah, I'm on Tabitha Ricci all day, man. I do think that there's a pretty good chance that Ribas is a little better everywhere, and then being a little more physical, I guess, in her striking, she's going to look like optics-wise to the judges. She's probably going to land bigger strikes. That being said, though, I think Ricci keeps this extremely close. Fight miles, I like the Ricci side. I don't know. We're talking about a coin flip fight, and you're giving me a 12% edge with Tabitha at plus 160. It looks like that line's only climbing. So
I was just about to say, even getting better.
If Ribas slips over the minus 200 and Ricci gets into the plus 170s, I might play it even bigger. But this is a coin flip fight. I'm taking that edge every single time. Give me Ricci for at least a unit, but I might get all the way up to 2 units. So, I like the Ricci side here. I think it's a close competitive fight for sure.
Let's go.
Moving up to the bantamweight division, we have Damon Blackshear taking on Davy Grant. I haven't been too much of a backer of Damon Blackshear, and that's kind of been to my detriment since he's come back to the UFC, man. He's looked pretty good, racked up 3 straight victories. And honestly, I think he's primed to do it again here against Davy Grant. Davy Grant is, I feel like as Blackshear has gotten back into the UFC, he's done a pretty good job of implementing a game plan and sticking to it. And I think knowing where Davy Grant shines with his awkward striking, he's not going to look to stand and bang with him. And if he gets the fight to the mat, we've seen Davy Grant submitted before. I think that, I think that he probably gets this done via submission. I don't know if we're going to get a great line as far as the props go, but that would be how I play this fight. Looks like, Blackshear minus 340 is pretty unplayable, but plus money price tag on submission certainly would be how I look to play this, but I'm not, going to be betting it super heavy. Maybe if I saw like a plus 260 or better, but I don't even think that we're going to get that. So give me Damon Blackshear by submission.
On the Blackshear side as well, man, another one of the fights where I struggle to see how I'd really play it. You talked about Davy Grant's awkwardness on the feet. Can kind of make fights close. But I do see the grappling advantage, like you said, for Damon. I'm unsure if he gets the submission, but I do think the grappling does enough to get Damon Blackshear a win. Not crazy about the fight. I'll stay with Damon Blackshear. Davy Grant's 40 years old, but, the Marcos fight probably should have gone his way, and he'd be riding a 4-fight winning streak right now. So it's hard to ever really count Davy Grant out. The dude's a veteran, and he's tough as nails, but I kind of think Damon knows where he's better and should take that path. Muslim Salikov taking on Carlos Leal. Carlos Leal, a guy who I got absolutely robbed on in his UFC debut against Renat Fakhretdinov. Leal's a guy I like, man. You can clearly tell dude takes care of himself on all the vitamins of the world. Great cardio, super good durability, big power. And, Muslim at his age early on, he's still pretty fast, man. Some of his counterattacks, his spinning attacks, he's still got it. But I think his durability's fading. His cardio after one drops off significantly. I'm not counting out Carlos Leal, honestly, getting it done toward the end of round 1, but I think 2-3 round props on Carlos Leal are pretty live here. I like Leal inside the distance, round 2 or 3.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe with Salikov's last win over I'm blanking on it, but Kenan Song Kenan.
Yeah.
I thought that maybe we get a little bit closer line here, but that is not the case. And honestly, I think that Leal's kind of a perfect matchup to completely smash Salikov at this age of his. He's going to be forward pressure. I think that if he gets on top, he's going to be dominant. I think if he pushes the pace and doesn't give Salikov that distance where he can just throw kicks and have room to work with on the feet, I think that this is Leal's fight all day. I don't really like him at minus 500, so it's a pass for me, but I do think that he gets this done. Moving on to the prelim headliner, one that I think you already have some action on, and I think we're going to end up ultimately disagreeing. Bryce Mitchell versus Said Nurmagomedov. Here's the thing, like, we've seen Said Nurmagomedov wrestle fucked a couple of times now. Even in the Sadyakov Kakramanov fight, like, he's getting completely dominated in that fight. I think that that's exactly how this fight is going to go until it doesn't. Bryce Mitchell is one of these guys who normally, he sets up some of his takedowns with strikes, but he's constantly shooting for a takedown. And Said Nurmagomedov's go-to is the ninja choke, is the guillotine, and I just think that that's going to be there over and over and over again. Even in the third round, he's just one of these guys who, when he wraps it up, it's done. And Bryce is going to give him those looks over and over again because he's not the best striker in the world. He has good striking, but he's going to go back to the well over and over and over again. And I just think that it's going to happen, it's just one of these fights where, yes, on paper, Bryce Mitchell should absolutely ragdoll him for 3 rounds. But just something's telling me that he's going to leave his neck out there one good time and he's going to get snatched up by Said Nurmagomedov. So Nurmagomedov by submission is how I see this fight going. Outside of that, I think Bryce should absolutely dominate, but I'm not going to pay a favorite price tag on him. I'm not going to, I know it's like practically pick'ems right now, but it's just, unless I was getting a plus money sign behind the money line, I'm taking Said Nurmagomedov by submission and just riding the whatever it's going to be plus 300 Nurmagomedov submission.
I see the worry, 100% do. But I think that's the only way Said probably gets it done. And I can't rate that higher than a 20% outcome. Honestly, man, I think Said, I'm a bit worried about Bryce at 35 in Abu Dhabi cutting it for the first time. But Said's clearly proven he does not have a good gas tank either. And the grappling absolutely wears this guy down. And so, I think it's a pretty level playing field. Bryce, and when you see him at 145 struggle to grapple these guys, it's Ilya Topuria and it's John Silva. It's very, very physical guys, a guy who's already the lightweight champion and a guy who will probably finish his career at lightweight, if I'm guessing, And so for Bryce to even be able to make 135 shows me that he knew he was out physicaled by those guys. And I think he ragdoll Said, man. And so at minus 110, a little bit of closing line value, I think Bryce should be minus 140 to minus 150. I think I could cap him close to 60%, but I think he, in hindsight, could come out here and look north of 70% with the grappling. So I was happy to get the pick 'em price tag.
Here's the thing, though. We don't know if he can make bantamweight. It's been over a decade since he has last, and he's fought up at lightweight before he's fought at bantamweight. So now he's flying across the pond, to Abu Dhabi, cutting the most weight he has in over a decade, and he's supposed to perform the exact same. That's where I think it gets dicey for me to just lay off of him as a side right here, where I can bet that Said's going to be fully prepared to lock up that ninja choke. For me, it's definitely why it's a 1.1 unit shot, because at pick'em price tag, for me to think a guy could in hindsight look 70% with the grappling, you would think that'd be a bigger play, but the concerns are real for sure, man. Kicking off our main card with an absolute banger, man. Nikita Krylov versus Bogdan Guskov. Dude, another one where you got an under that I think's pretty juicy. It's under minus 200. Both of them notorious finishers. Krylov looked very, I don't know, man, rigid, stiff his last fight out. I know it was, Dominic Reyes, who has pretty good footwork and pretty good counter shots, but Krylov definitely looked like he had been out of the cage, been injured. And Guskov can crack. Outside of that short notice debut he's 3-0, a couple finishes. And so I think he's live to finish, but
I think Nikita Krylov could actually come in here, implement some grappling, and make this fight look extremely easy earlier. I think he's the much, much better grappler of the two. And, yeah, Nikita Krylov submission, I think that's how the fight goes down, man. I think it's probably a submission under the 1.5 mark. So Nikita Krylov, round 1 sub. That's how I see it going down.
Yes, I think that Guskov's a really popular underdog this week. I've seen him bet pretty much everywhere, and I have to agree. I think that this is Krylov's fight to lose. I do think that he gets on top of him and really starts wearing him out, but I think that there's a lot of potential for just ground and pound as well. So I think that there's going to be people who just take the sub, but the TKO is only like 40 points more. So I'm more looking at the inside the distance at plus money. Let's not get greedy, because I really do think that this is Krylov's fight right here. Guskov is – you like that?
I like it.
Yeah. Guskov is good as far as a striker, a power puncher, but Volkan Oezdemir isn't submitting a lot of people. And if he can do it, I do think that Krylov can do it as well, or at least get the fight to where he needs to get the finish, however he chooses to do it. But I really do think that people are going to lose on Krylov sub when, we could still get plus money on Krylov inside the distance. So, yeah, I do think that Krylov wins. What was that?
The dude's finished 28 of his 30 wins. If you're going to give me plus money in a fight that I think he's going to win, that's a must play for me.
Absolutely. Moving on to the flyweight division, Jose Ochoa taking on Asu Amabayev. I was on Ochoa by TKO against Cody Durden, and I could see the strikes up the middle was going to get Cody Durden sooner or later. He ended up finding it early second round after really hurting him in the first round. Right. And, I don't know why the UFC is choosing Ochoa to fight this guy right now. Like, he's 24 years old. You could give him a better path to, building him as a prospect, especially being from Peru. Like, we don't have very many good Peruvian prospects. So it just seems out of pocket to match him up against Asu Amabayev, who's got a lot of experience, who's in the prime of his career at 31 years old. And ultimately is probably going to win this fight, man. Like, he went out there against Manel Kape, looked pretty good for some of it, and then ended up getting touched up in round 3. But, this is where's this line at?
Kind of a pick 'em.
Yeah, pick 'em, dude. And you're giving me minus 105 on Asu Amabayev. Like, this seems like a must play right here for Asu Amabayev. I just think that they're in different points of their career. Amabayev is competent everywhere. And he doesn't have, like, outside of his last fight that happened, let's see, probably roughly 4-5 months ago, he's not getting finished, Like, it's very rare that he gets finished. I'm just not sure that I can put Jose Ochoa on that level just quite yet. I think that this is a pretty decent buy low spot for Asu Amabayev, but it's going to be tight for a little bit because Ochoa does throw with some power. But at pick'em odds, plus money, hell, if I get plus money on Asu Amabayev, I'll certainly be on him. But as a pick, yes, I'm all over the Asu Amabayev side. Considering where we are, like, they're having a 24-year-old Peruvian fly across the country to fight Asu Amabayev. And, maybe almost rewarding Asu Amabayev for taking that Manel Kape fight, Like, this is set up for Asu. Give me Asu at minus 105.
I get it, man. The guy's been like a 2-1 favorite in every single one of the fights besides Manel Kape. He was like minus 600 against Jose Johnson. And so to see him pick him, you do kind of feel like there's some recency bias baked into that Jose Ochoa KO over Cody Durden, a guy who, is not the most durable guy. Let's just be honest, Here's the thing, though, man. Okay, Osu has much better control than Cody Durden, and I think has a better gas tank than Cody Durden. It's a lot more intentional with getting the fight down and keeping it down, can lock in body triangles and keep you there. So I get it. But I think all the minutes on the feet are Jose Ochoa. And so I feel like I'm gonna pass. I don't feel as confident on the Osu side as you do. But, when Cody Durden took Jose Ochoa down, the dude was punching from bottom. So, Asu really could.
We got a grappling advantage. We got a grappling advantage, and he's competent on the feet. Like, he's not lost on the feet.
Yeah, it's like Bryce Mitchell. If Asu does come in here and get his game plan going, pick'em could literally look minus 200, minus 300. So, yeah, I'm torn on it, man. I think I'm going to ultimately pass on it, but best of luck to you on the suicide. Continuing up the main card, Shar Magomedov back in Abu Dhabi taking on Marc-Andre Barriault. You and I had talked about this previously last week before the pod just a tad bit. And, I kind of went in thinking, all right, maybe let's look at the Marc-Andre side. Ultimately, man, I think a guy's just kind of relied on the durability throughout of his career, and I do think it's starting to fail him. I think he's at a big speed disadvantage, and his type of style, he's not a wrestler. Like he's a grinder, so he really does have to get on the inside, force the clinch, close that distance. And I think Shara's way better at range. I think Shara's better in the clinch. Shara's twice as durable. So I'm on the Shara finish. Don't feel the best about it because I'd love to fade this guy. But I think Shara gets it done, probably under 1.5.
Yeah, so there's no disagreement here. He's a minus 700, 810 in some spots. He should get the finish, but he sucks. He's not a good fighter at all. And he's had some really, really good matchups so far in the UFC. Tricoli, Olajaychik, Petrosian. Those are Michael Venom Page. Those are not guys that are going to take him down. And at least with Barriault, that should be his game plan. Yeah, he's going to have to go walk through some fire to be able to get there. But, as long as he knows that his best opportunity at winning is pushing him up against the cage and wearing on him. I've seen Shara Bullet tire out this with just minimal grappling. Mm-hmm. So somebody like Barriault who could push that pace, you're dodging a shaky chin. But, man, I think that there's a lot of potential for Barriault to implement a game plan, stick to it, and grind out a pretty shitty performance, don't get me wrong, but still a win right here. So I think that this could be the parlay buster of the night. I'm not, with all this talk, you'd think I'd be playing Barriault, but I might not be. But man, if these lines get up into the, it looks like there's already a little bit of buyback on the Barriault side, but if I could find a plus 500, yeah, I'll take a 0.5 unit stab right there. I don't think that Shara Bullet's that good. I think that there's not a lot of people left in the middleweight division that he gets an easy win with. And so this is another decent person that he should be able to, get a win with, considering where Barriault is at in his career. But I also at the same time think that Barriault has the skills to get it done against somebody like Shara Bullet. So Barriault is certainly the side odds wise here.
Right.
I'll probably be putting a half unit on him. I don't feel great about it, but give me Barriault by decision. I like that. Moving on to the co-main event, Petr Yan taking on Marcus McGee. Look, this is a 5-round fight. It's Petr Yan all day, minus 370, but it is not a 5-round fight. Marcus McGee is competent on the feet. He throws with a ton of power, probably more power than Petr Yan. Yan really has to get into the pocket to really implement his game plan. And I think that that's going to be, bad news for whenever Marcus McGee is still hot, whenever he's still got all of his energy and everything in that first round, I can almost guarantee he steals a round off of Petr Yan in every judge's eyes, and you still get +1 something on the +3.5. Marcus McGee +3.5 is one of my easiest plays on the card. That's a must hit. I'm waiting for DraftKings to drop it, but I want to play Marcus McGee just straight at +300, but I don't think he wins this fight. I do think that Petr Yan's a better fighter, but I know that there's going to be some squirrely moments, and I think that Marcus McGee is going to steal a round, and every judge is going to see it. Petr Yan likes to get rocked. He's kind of not looked the best as of recent. Some people think that he's going to make a resurgence. Marcus McGee, 10-1, whole lot less fight miles, kind of in the prime of his career, even though it's starting a little bit late. He's going to win a round, dude. So +3.5, plus money, easy play.
I was going to be shouting out the same point spread, man. I think Marcus McGee is super live to go out here and take round 1 in a 3-round fight. Peter's a guy who's always taken the time to download his information. A lot of time drops that round 1, and he even touched on something I was going to say, man. I'm a huge Petr Yan fan, but I'm willing to admit that I don't think he's looked, I don't want to say, bad, but just declining a little bit, man. I don't think he's the Peter Yan that he was going into the first Aljo fight and things. So yeah, man, I think Marcus McGee is live to make this fight close, to still around. But once Yan kind of gets into his game, when he gets that forward momentum, when he gets his reads, he's chopping down the legs, man. He's working the body. His boxing is really, really good. McGee really hasn't been tested down the stretch. The Jonathan Martinez one is kind of the one that comes to mind in round 3. I think if that was somebody better, somebody with a little bit more will to win in front of him, it could have been a little dicey for him. So Yan round 2, 3 is kind of live, but yeah, I think if he does finish him in 2-3, Marcus McGee still probably won the first round. So I think that point spread's super live, and if you're going to get plus money on it, I think that's a very good look.
Another thing to touch on, in that Song Yadong fight, he tore his ACL. He's post 30 years old, and he's tearing his ACL. And then he comes back and fights Davison Figueiredo, which he does have 5 rounds to kind of work in his game plan. I don't think he starts as well, like even worse than what he usually does at this point in his career. Like this is Marcus McGee is going to win round 1.
I like it. Into our main event at middleweight. Legend man Robert Whittaker taking on the surging Rainier de Ritter. Whittaker, one of the consensus best middleweights to do it. I think what's proven here, he probably does have a gas tank advantage. He does have the advantages on the feet. But Rob at chalk at this stage of his career, just not what I like, man. His durability is kind of really starting to fail him at this point in his career. I think he can be hurt on the feet. I think he can be submitted. I think he struggles with super physical guys. And, he's got a guy with all the confidence on the world who's really improving on the feet, who is a massive middleweight. And, yeah, man, I ultimately kind of felt like I might be on the Rob side here, but I went into tape and, Rob's at a point in his career where he's already talking about it in interviews where he knows the end is coming. You just lost in a number 1 contender fight. So it's 2-3 more before you're in the title picture again. And just not a spot I like to back him at chalk, man. And Rainier, like I said, really improving on the feet, a fantastic grappler. I think he can steal a lot of minutes on the mat. And I think he ultimately is probably going to submit Robert Whittaker. So I'm a unit deep at plus 136, I believe. A little bit of closing line value there. But I think we might disagree here, man. But I'm on the Rainier de Ritter side.
We are definitely disagreeing, man. Do you remember in 2020 whenever Robert Whittaker was fighting Jared Cannonier? And
I thought it was Marvin Vittori when we were
no, I think let's see, Marvin Vittori. No, he was a minus 200 against Marvin Vittori, but he was a minus 115 against Jared Cannonier. And I remember vividly just being like, "This is a buy low spot, man. He is getting disrespected right here." And I think that we're looking at the same thing here, man. I agree that if Rainier de Ritter gets on top of him early, we could be into some trouble, especially if he can kind of work that chin area, the jaw area that we just saw Khamzat Chimaev really tear up. But outside of that, man, I mean, Robert's been a really good scrambler. Even look in the Khamzat Chimaev fight, he's making him scramble. Like Khamzat needed that face crank right there because he was making him work. And we know that Khamzat might not have the best cardio in the game, especially if we see him in a 5-round fight. Well, this is Rainier's first 5-round fight in the UFC. And I do think that we're going to see him fade if he doesn't get that early finish. He was lucky to kind of have the fights that he has with Gerald Meerschaert. That's somebody that, luckily for him, willing to go to the mat. Rainier de Ritter isn't worried about getting submitted by Gerald Meerschaert, so that's a perfect matchup for him. Kevin Holland at 185 pounds, we just saw him at 170 kind of drop the ball, but at 185, it's even worse, dude, and we know that. Bo Nickel, it's yet another guy where, Bo Nickel doesn't have the greatest jiu-jitsu. He doesn't really want to go to the ground with them, and Rainier's at least a better striker than Bo Nickel, who only can spam an overhand right. This is Robert Whittaker we're talking about. This is Robert Whittaker, and I know that he might not be in the, best shape of his career, but he's 34 years old. I do think he still has a little bit in the gas tank, and for what it's worth, I think Rainier is unproven to this point, man, especially in a 5-round fight. We've seen him literally quit last year in one championship, literally quit.
To a heavyweight.
To a heavyweight, absolutely. But it's just something where if his game plan isn't working, what is he going to look like in round 4 and round 5? Because I know what Robert Whittaker is going to look like. We know that cardio has never really been an issue for Robert Whittaker. And the only people that have held him down for longer than 2 minutes is Yoel Romero and Hamzat Chimaev. Hamzat Chimaev's fighting for the belt. He's one of the best in the world, especially early grappling. I'm not really sure that we can say that about Reinier de Ridder, at least yet. So give me Robert Whittaker here. I think it's getting to the +1 or -130 area. I'm excited to see a lot more people pour in money on Reinier de Ridder, who I get it. He's looked great in the 3 fights that he's had up until this point, but this is a buy low spot for Robert Whittaker here, man. And if Reinier doesn't get that early submission, which would be how I played it if I was playing his side, Robert Whittaker is going to take over. He is a true champion through and through. He's fought the best in the world. Reinier de Ridder's fought low-level UFC fighters, unproven UFC fighters, and then decent one championship fighters, This is a buy low spot for Robert Whittaker. Give me Rob Whittaker one more time.
I had a feeling that we were going to be disagreeing on the main event, but I thought for me it was Marvin Vettori, and I thought maybe it was Cannonier, but I remember definitely around that same time period we were slamming Robert Whittaker, and that came back to memory for me too, man. So excited to watch these fights, daytime fights. I think prelim started about 11 o'clock in the morning our time, so happy there, man. Next week, Amir Albazi, Tetsuro Taira fight night. So as always, appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We'll be back next week.
Peace.